13th Blissfield Village Council meeting to order. If you would please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are foregoing this evening's prayer. 3 individuals were contacted and all 3 were unable to attend at this time. So if you would go ahead and call roll, Lisa, thank you. Valdez.
Lee County, Florida.
And really fast, just to be clear before Lisa continues, he can participate in participation, but Lisa won't be roll calling as he cannot vote.
But he can have discussion, correct?
Yes, he can do discussion, provide any feedback, input, things like that.
Landusa,
Here.
Mike Hunter,
Here.
Barbara Henry,
Here.
James Eitzen,
Present.
Jerry Hayes, Tim Waters,
Present.
Thank you. There's a, from the minutes, there's a recommended motion to move to approve the minutes of the November 22nd, 21 as presented.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of November 22nd, 2021 as presented.
Second.
There's a first by Barb and a second by Tim for the recommended motion to approve the minutes of November the 22nd, 21 as presented. Go ahead, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. And we're going to go on to the presentations and the communications, and Danielle, if you go ahead and speak to that, please.
Yes, I had put this item on the agenda. Governor Whitmer proclaimed this week, the 13th through the 19th, as Water and Wastewater Professionals Workforce Week here in Michigan. And I guess wanted to just take a minute, because we do have several employees that work in this field, just to tell them thank you. And that we appreciate everything that they do for us, day in and day out. I always say they're kind of the unsung heroes of any community. You need roads, you need water, you need sewer to have a community, but until you turn your faucet on and there's no water, or you can't flush your toilet, you don't put a whole lot of thought into it. So I just, again, really wanted to tell them thank you and just take a little moment to appreciate them. Just for the record, I'm sure everybody knows, and I did put this in the packet, but in DPW, we've got Brent, Nick, Andrew, Eric, Jason, and Bill. Several of them hold certifications. They all work in this daily. And then in the water plant, we have Nora, Jeff, Steve, Nick, and Jenna. And then wastewater, we currently have Steve and Randy. So a huge thank you to all of those employees for everything that they do for us.
And one of them's here.
Yes, and just a quick side note too, Nora is doing tours at the water plant this Thursday at 10 and 2. If there's any residents or anybody that would like to go attend that, they just need to let us know here. We'll get them signed up for one of the time slots, because we are limiting those to 15 people. And it's just a good opportunity to be able to go out to the water plant and really see firsthand what they do, ask some questions, get to tour the facility. So I encourage any of our residents that maybe don't know exactly what the process is or are curious, go out there and check that out.
Is that something, Nora, that you guys plan to do on a monthly basis, bi-monthly?
If you remember a couple months ago, I had that source water intake protection program that we adopted as a village. And part of that is outreach, community outreach and education. So I'm not sure how often I'm gonna do it, but I thought it was a great fit into this week being the water and wastewater. So I'm thinking maybe quarterly or something like that. We'll see how it unfolds with what's happening at the plant.
I think that'd be I like the idea of the quarterly thing, if that's possible. Yeah. Until you go there, you don't understand what all's going on, what all goes underneath the ground.
And we'd love to do the wastewater plant, but currently, due to the conditions, that's not a safe, good idea. So hopefully that'll come down the line as well.
Is this something that Whitmer does on a yearly basis, or this just happened to be right now for us? Just curious about that.
I'm not entirely sure. I know there's been a big push. Last year was the first year that the state of Wyoming did a similar thing at a different time frame, but I know there's been a big push recently from the professionals in the water and sewer, just to try to recognize these people. And there's a lot of time and dedication and study that goes into obtaining these certifications. And I just don't think people realize, and there's also a huge shortage for people who want to work in the water and sewer field. So I think this is another way to try to do that across the whole United States. We're just having huge declines in staffing and people that are able and wanting to get certified.
Thank you for the explanation. Next item on the agenda is a recommended motion to move to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. We have a motion to approve and to support the recommended motion to approve the agenda as presented. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. That motion passed. Public comment items on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment at this time?
I just have something quick. Eric Rogers, 742 South Lane Street. I see you have on tonight's agenda to talk about the wayfinding sign project that's been back burner for quite a while. I was just curious, do you have an idea? And I don't, it doesn't need to be exact, but I know we've spent quite a bit of money to get the surveys done, to get some of the background work done, to get some of the information from, I think it was Pogemeyer, if I remember right. Do we have any idea how much money we have spent as a village to get the groundwork done for that project?
I cannot address that. Mike, do you have an idea, perhaps Danielle?
I could easily pull that for you, but I currently don't.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to either stop by or give me your phone number, you don't have to publicly say it, but I can look that up and let you know.
I know it's a fairly substantial amount of money. I think I could be wrong. I hate to quote a number, but I think it's in the $30,000 range, if I remember right. But
Right.
I just would like to see that project go through because it's been discussed and talked about a lot going back over the past couple of years. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Okay. Unfinished business. Does anyone have any comments regarding unfinished business at this time?
And I would like to say something.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Danielle for continuing to look into that roof issue. And I can't really understand why Dave Koppelman doesn't get a hold of her. That's all.
Anything you want to address at this time, Danielle, about that?
I don't really have too much to add. I, as council knows, provided an update to you guys last Friday. I did reach out to Owens Corning, and again, this is kind of repetitive for you, but just for the public, filed a warranty claim with them. That claim was denied due to installation issues, which wasn't really a huge surprise to us. That's kind of what we anticipated, but I did want to follow through and at least have that formal process done and documented. So we've received that notification back, and I have been trying to get in touch with Dave Koppelman. When I call his number, unfortunately, it's not, it gives me a weird message, something about it not being in service anymore. And I tried to email him and not heard back, just hopefully being able, I don't know if he did a final kind of closeout report, just some kind of information. I am continuing to work with Bill on this issue because of the legal matters and because we did receive a letter from the contractor's attorney. And I'm still kind of working through that, but at this point, I've recommended that maybe we respond in writing to the contractor, since we've not been able to get in touch with their attorney via telephone. And if that's the route we go, I will definitely keep you guys posted. And that's a letter I would like you guys to approve. Especially since Phil and I weren't here for the whole thing, I really want to make sure whatever we send them, you guys agree with and we get that going. So it is on the radar, just unfortunately a slow process, so.
Mike, anything from you at this time? Nope. Barb? Nope. Anybody else? I do have a couple items, please. One of the things, Danielle, I'd like to touch base on, and perhaps it is new business, but to a degree, I think it's old business because this is an issue that's happened in the past regarding furniture that's left by the dumpsters. And I know that I connected with you regarding the furniture that's over there on the property next to the park, the old mattresses. There's probably about 5 of them that are stacked there. Didn't know what the status was of that, as well as the material that was over here on 223. I noticed that that was there for a length of time as well. I noticed that that material has been removed, but what's going on with this material that's being left behind of this nature?
So our ordinance states that we have to give them 30 days to
It's
clean
30
it up.
days?
30 days. It is on my list of things to do, code enforcement or compliance. What in my short time I've seen is that we have kind of repeat offenders, and they get a letter and they get 30 days to clean it up, and that's all. They just get another letter after they clean it up, and we don't really do much more than that. What I would like to do is something a little bit more strict. You know, you get a first warning where we'll give you X amount of days. Second time, you're gonna get a fine. And not that I want to fine people, but just to try to deter them from just continuously doing the same things.
So those mattresses can be there for a long while and just continue to get a letter at this stage of the game.
Correct. That's how the ordinance is written. So
Okay.
we have to give them X amount of days. Then after that deadline hits, we go out, see if it's still there. And then at that point, we can remove it and bill them, but we have to give them that time frame for ordinance.
Okay. Do we have an idea what the time frame has been on that material?
I will have to double
Okay.
check because we've had a few. I know we got the ones on 223,
Yes.
finally taken care of. In fact, Stevens, what's that? Oh, Stevens, picked those up for us. That was kind of a weird one. So there were tags on that. I don't know if they blew off, if they weren't sticking very good. So we called Stevens, who agreed to pick them up at no charge. Well, I think it was already paid for, but they were good with that. So I'll check on the other one though and let you know how many days we're at, but I think they still have, I want to say a week or 2.
Ooh, wow, okay.
Because the other part of that is we have to do the certified part. Like one time we had somebody who never picked up their certified mail, so the 30 days wasn't starting. It's a challenge, but that is on my radar to work on too.
Thank you. Next question is on status of the forensic services.
I do not have an update for council at this time. I'm still waiting. I have been following up pretty regularly and hoping that we can move forward soon.
So we don't know if material has been completed at Plant Moran at this time.
So my understanding is that it has. I don't have that report. I don't have because of the nature of everything.
I understand.
I won't probably see that until we're a little bit further along, so.
Thank you. And then Dale, can you tell us the status of the applicants for the officer's position?
I don't have any new ones.
It was my understanding that there was somebody, when I spoke with Danielle a little bit earlier, that there was someone that might be considered.
Not right now. I've got 2 applicants. One is fresh out of the police academy. In fact, his academy certification may have expired. The other one has no prior police experience.
And did you have the opportunity to reach out to the other officer when we interviewed him together? Who had declined?
Yeah, I actually spoke to him one time.
And he continues to decline then?
I didn't even ask him again.
Oh, okay, I thought, I was under the impression that you were going to be able to do that.
No, he was pretty clear that, he wasn't interested anymore.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you. And that's all the questions that I would have. Okay, we'll go ahead then and go on to new business with payroll. And there is a recommended motion on the floor to move to approve the payroll register for November 22 in the amount of $126,839.62.
I will make a motion to approve the payroll register for November 2022 in the amount of $126,839.62.
Support.
We have a first and a second motion here, or support, excuse me. First from Barb, a second from James.
Should read 2021.
Thank you, Mike. I was curious on that as well when I stated that. Barb, would you go ahead and make that motion again, please?
A friendly amendment. Yes. Should be November 2021.
So there's been the motion to move to approve the payroll register for November of 2021 with the friendly amendment in the amount of the $126,839.62. Are there any questions, comments? There are none. Go ahead, Lisa.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. Number two, there is another motion being recommended, move to approve the accounts payable for the period of 11/10/21 to 12/14/21 in the amount of $1,572,199.80.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable bills for the period of 11/10/2021 to 12/14/2021 in the amount of $1,572,199.80.
Support.
We have a motion by Barb and seconded by James to go with the recommended motion as presented. Are there any questions? Comments? Seeing none, go ahead, Lisa.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. Third item on this portion of the agenda is with a recommended motion, move to approve the contractor pay application. Would that be application, Danielle? Is that what that APP?
Yes,
stands for?
pay
Application number 9 in the amount of $248,528.52 in connection with the Village of Blissfield WWTP project upgrade, and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to this payment.
Council, this item, as you know, the contractor has been back at the wastewater plant and working. This pay app has gone through our engineers who are recommending approval, and I believe Denise is on Zoom as well. If you guys have questions, I can try to answer them.
James, any questions?
No.
Tim? Barb, any questions? Right. Okay. Seeing that there are no questions, looking for a motion to be made, please.
I'll move to approve the contractor pay application number 9 in the amount of $248,520.52 in connection with the Village of Blissfield wastewater treatment plant project upgrade, and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to this payment.
Or.
We have a motion by James and supported by Tim to approve the motion as presented. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Lisa?
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. Motion is passed. Number 4, Danielle, I thought you might want to talk about this before we go ahead with the recommended motion, please.
Yes, so I have, really the next two items are kind of tied, so if I overlap, I apologize a little bit. Community Action Agency has been working with some of our residents. They are able to apply for assistance to help them pay for their utility bill, and even in some cases rent. Recently, there's a lot of different funding streams kind of being tossed around at different levels related to COVID, and they actually received 900,000 specifically to assist with utility bills. However, part of that, because of the logistics of the funding and how they received it, is actually funneled through the Department of Health and Human Services, and is actually federal funding, so they have some different requirements that they have to meet. So in the past, what has happened is our residents that need that assistance just reach out to Community Action Agency, they apply for assistance, and then Community Action Agency lets us know if they are given that, and then we receive a payment, process it, and move forward. With this new funding, they are requiring that in order for a community to be eligible to receive that payment to the utility bill, we have to enter into a memorandum of understanding or an MOU with them. This MOU is kind of lengthy for what we're asking for. I did have David review it, who had a couple questions. One of them, it talks about a lot of not confidentiality, not sharing information, but as a municipality, we're subject to FOIA. So we wanted to make sure that they're not, and if we sign this, we're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're then violating FOIA. I did talk to Community Action Agency, and that's not their intent. They fully understand that any municipality that signs this is subject to FOIA. We can still release that information, but what they don't want is any confidential or private information that would be for the citizen. So if we had their social security number, which we would not do anyway. So that one was easy. The other question that David had for them is, it specifically says that we cannot charge administrative fees, but then there's no definition tied to that. So we just wanted to make sure we had a clear understanding. More specifically, his concern was that our availability fee, the base fee, wouldn't be considered an administrative fee. So I did specifically ask that question as well. It is not, since every resident would be charged that, it's not specific to certain accounts, it's not considered that administrative fee. It would be eligible for the assistance as well. With that being said, David and I talked, and we, again, it's probably a little bit more lengthy than we need it, but we don't have any concerns. My big thing is I feel that the benefit to our residents of entering into this MOU outweighs any of the kind of weird reporting or things within that. Kind of the second piece to this, and I want to talk about it before you approve the MOU, is it is a violation of the ordinance the way it's written now. So with this MOU, one of the things that I asked if they would change, and they're unwilling to, is there's a 90-day shut off, delay, or lack. So what it's saying is, if Community Action Agency funds a resident that we agree we will not turn their water off for 90 days following that payment. So if we get payment in November from Community Action Agency, we have to go 3 months from that before we'll shut them off. As you guys know, our ordinance states that we can only do that, or that we do shut offs after 30 days. So what the second piece to this, if you guys approve the MOU, is I'm proposing an ordinance amendment that just refers directly to the MOU. And that way, if it's changed or if it becomes void, then this doesn't apply. But for those people, they would be 90 days. It does create a little bit more work for staff. Brandon and I have talked about this, as well as Lisa and Holly. We'll have to track who gets that payment and put some clear notes when they would be able to be shut off again. And hopefully we don't get to that point. But again, I think the benefit to our residents outweighs that small amount of work that we would have to do if we don't enter into this with the new funding, our residents are no longer eligible to receive that assistance. So it kind of puts us in.
Are we able to contact these agencies after 30 days rather than 90?
So I specifically told them that that is a direct violation of our ordinance, that we shut off after 30 days, and asked if we could change that. And because it's federal funding, the federal government set the standard, and they will not. That's one of the standards that they said had to be in there, and they will not change that.
Can we contact them on behalf of the account holder? Instead of directing the account holder to go to them, can we go to them and say they're delinquent after
Oh, I
payment?
see what you're saying. We cannot. The
Okay.
citizen has to apply or request the assistance themselves. We can only, what the MOU is saying is that we are willing to accept that payment from them on behalf of our residents.
Percentage wise,
So if the resident is not turned off, they'll pay up to $650. If the resident is shut off, they'll pay the full past due amount, they'll pay the full amount due plus any turn on fees associated with it.
and as far as the population, we do have people that,
We do have people that utilize this currently that won't be able to, not a ton, but definitely enough that, again, I would hate for our residents to lose it. I think, what did we figure? We had probably about a dozen in the last couple of months, was it?
We had a handful, and a lot of them, I'm not much like a small amounts, we're talking about as much as $1,800, that this bill got paid off. So, and the first one, we first started shutting people off. So I would say, we got a handful, but the problem is trying to get the word out. So it's a lot of
getting the
people-
word out that this is available.
Yes. So when people call us, they're gonna say that if we shut somebody off, and they come in the office and they say, well, we don't have the money to pay our bill. We of course then make the phone call and tell them to email us. And then we will turn them back on, as long as we get a commitment from the agency and an email.
Which is
And
what,
that's been successful, very successful.
Yeah, and there's been numerous residents that have come in afterwards and received that assistance, that then, because they got that assistance, it qualified them for renter's assistance and some different things. So I mean, it kind of is a snowball effect where it's helping them in other areas as well when they need it.
so you would like us to continue with the same ordinance, Danielle, correct? Of with this MOU.
Yes, yeah, I put it in that order because if you guys feel, if you decided not to approve the MOU, then there would be no need to change the ordinance. I want to talk about them together because they do have impact. I didn't want you to approve the MOU and then me kind of slap behind that, like, oh, by the way, now that you've done that, there's this change in the ordinance. They're just very tied together, but I wanted to approve them separately just to make it clear, so.
Mike, any questions on this? Martin? Tim?
Question, you have to be under the MOU to get the 90-day extension.
They would have to, yes, so they have to receive the assistance to get the 90-day extension. If they don't receive the community action agency, or it's from a different entity that they get assistance from, they're still, our ordinance, the way I've revised it, it's still 30 days unless they got the specific help per the MOU.
I may have missed this, but do they have to fill out an application to get the assistance, or how do they qualify?
They do that with community action agency. So our staff doesn't process any of who gets it. We don't determine that. All we do is track what payments we receive and apply it to the correct bill. And then we now will have to track who won't get those shutoffs because of that assistance. But community action agency does all the administration. They do all of the selecting the application process themselves.
And staff is good with going that extra mile to help in the assistance?
Yeah, again, it's a little bit more work for us, and we all have a lot to do, but I just think that small amount of work is worth the benefit that our residents would receive from this.
James, anything?
No, I'll move to approve the memorandum of understanding as presented and authorize the village administrator to execute on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by James and seconded by Barb to approve the MOU as presented and authorize the village administrator to execute on behalf of the governing body. Lisa?
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. And the motion has passed. We'll go on down to the next one with that same recommended motion, similar recommended motion, move to approve the ordinance as presented.
I'll move to approve the ordinance as presented.
Support.
And we have that motion made by James and again supported by Barb to move to approve the ordinance as presented. I'm assuming there's no discussion. Lisa?
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. And that motion is passed. We're on here to number 6 regarding the authorization of submission of the T-Mobile grant. So Danielle, you want to go ahead and describe that for us?
Yes, so this grant, I am proposing that we apply for a phase of wayfinding signage. I did go through all of the wayfinding and we've got quite a few signs. We do even have a cost estimate due to the bid that went out for the entryway signs. So I had reached out to a couple different companies that specifically do wayfinding signs to get some estimates. And then I was able to, at my last job, we did wayfinding signs, so I pulled those quotes as well to figure out the total cost, and then I broke it down into phases. So what I would like to do is apply for T-Mobile grant for what I'm calling phase 1, which will be our downtown directional signs. And I say downtown, they're not specific to downtown, they'll direct to the schools, to the library, to the aquatic center, but they're centralized in our downtown district. And then a kiosk, which will have a map of our community with a couple parking signs for our parking lots as well. The estimated cost for this is just over $42,000. T-Mobile is doing up to $50,000 grants for communities. It's a pretty simple application. What's in your packet is the extent of the application and then letters of support, which we did receive 5 letters of support that would be submitted with the application if this resolution is approved tonight. Regardless, a huge thank you to those people that submitted a letter. We received one from the library. We received one from Blissfield Community Schools, Starling Lounge, from Blissfield State Bank, and then Mike Gunter as well, who's been a huge part of this on the DDA board and different things. So I am hopeful. I don't know if we'll get it, but they're doing quite a bit of grants, and I figure we might as well try. But if you have any questions, let me know.
Are there any questions? There's a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing submission of the T-Mobile grant. Support.
We have a motion by Tim and a second by James regarding the approval of the resolution authorizing submission of the T-Mobile grant. If there are no questions, go ahead then, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, that motion passed. Going on to resolution for the 2022 Mdot annual permit. And Danielle has stepped out for a moment. I don't know if anybody has any questions for her at this time.
I can answer them because I'm the one that does the permits for that.
Anybody have a question for Lisa? Okay, well, there is that motion on the floor.
I move to approve the Mdot annual permit resolution and authorize the village clerk to execute all related documents on behalf of the governing body and to apply to the Michigan Department of Transportation for the necessary permits to work within the state trunk line, US 223, right of way for 2022.
Second.
We have a motion by James and a second by Mike to move to approve the Mdot annual permit resolution and authorize the village clerk to execute all the related documents on behalf of the governing body and supply the Michigan Department of Transportation for the necessary permits to work within the state trunk line US 223 right of way for 2022.
Barb? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes, that motion is passed. On to number 8, please. Employee appreciation. Danielle, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, so in the past, we have purchased hams and or turkeys for our staff. We let them pick for the holidays. And I would like to do that again. The cost is approximately $800. I don't have the exact cost, but based off of what we've paid in the past years. We will be doing just a small kind of appreciation holiday lunch this coming Friday for the employees. That lunch is not funded by the village. It's just funded by council and staff members that have contributed. And we will give the hams and turkeys at that time. Something new that I have with this that we've not done, though, is I would like to propose to give the employees an extra 4 hours. We've had a lot of changes and things in the past year, or a little bit over a year probably, and our employees have really stepped through, and we don't have a huge budget to do a lot of things. We're pretty limited. But what I would like to do is be able to just give them an extra 4 hours to go be with their families and take some time off. I don't want to close the facilities for an extra 4 hours. What I'm proposing is that we let the departments with their employees work out what that'll look like. So maybe, for example, here at City Hall, Lisa is going to take an extra 4 hours on Tuesday, but I want to take mine Wednesday. So we'll still be open for our residents, just give our employees that time or a little flexibility around the holiday weeks to utilize that. There is, of course, if we do that, some challenges with our police department as we are down an officer and because they work 24-hour shifts. So I would like to give them the option of either being able to take it off or being able to get the extra 4 hours at straight time. It's not going to be holiday pay or anything because it's bonus time. And that would be well within our budget due to us being down an officer. So there'd be no increase to the budget. But it'd just be a way for us to really show them that we do appreciate everything that they do for us.
I'll move to approve the purchases of hams and turkeys for employees and an extra 4 hours of paid time off during the holiday season.
Second.
We have a motion by James and a second by Tim for the recommended motion to approve the purchase of ham or turkeys for the employees and an extra 4 hours of paid time off. Are there any questions or comments?
I just have one question. How many employees and departments do we have total?
So we have 25 full-time employees and departments. We've got, I don't know, I gotta think now how many departments, because we have our police department, DPW, water, treatment, sewer. We have
That's good enough.
village
Just-
hall,
Library.
yeah, library,
This is something I didn't know. So.
yes.
All right.
See no questions or comments? Other comments? I'll clarify. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mike?
Yes.
Barb? Yes. Tim?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Thank you guys for supporting that too. I know the employees will appreciate it, so.
I do have a question for you regarding the finances of it. If I'm hearing you correctly, this Friday is part of a contribution from council as well. Okay. When do you need that by?
Just whenever.
Okay.
It's covered, whatever you can contribute,
Okay.
just let me know.
Nope,
So,
I didn't know, I knew it was coming up, I didn't know how that worked, I could not recall.
yes.
All right, thank you very much. Did you know about that, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, good
And I
man.
contribute.
Where the heck was that, man? I don't know either, I don't know, I
It
was.
wasn't a whole
No
lot. But I
worries.
did.
All right, we will touch base, okay. All right.
And
Bob,
I
go
have,
ahead.
I have contributed as well.
Sure you have, Bob.
Ask Lisa.
You did show me the money.
All right. Was it a check?
Was not.
Ooh, cash, okay, Bob, all right, thanks, Bob. We'll go on to number 9 then, approval of the holiday season aquatic center 10% discount. Would you like to address that? I don't know if Heather is available, I didn't know.
She's not, she unfortunately had a passing in her family, so she's out a couple days this week. Staff, we're just asking to be able to do a seasonal kind of holiday 10% discount for the aquatic center. We thought that it would make a great gift for somebody if they wanted to purchase that pass for the family or a family next year. We would like to run the 10% discount starting tomorrow through January 7th. I did put right in the agenda or the packet what the fees are currently and then what that 10% would look like. So it's nothing substantial, but every little bit during the holiday season helps and might just give us kind of an extra aquatic center push is what we're hoping. But if you have questions, let me know.
James, any questions?
I just want to make certain that these rates are established for 2022.
They are the rates that are in the current approved fee schedule that we did during budget.
Okay.
Any questions? Barb? Seeing there are no more questions, looking for a recommendation, or excuse me, for a motion, please.
I move to approve the holiday season aquatic center discount of 10% from December 14th, 2021 to January 7th, 2022.
Someone like to make a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Barb and seconded by Tim to approve the holiday season aquatic center discount of 10% from December the 14th, 21 to January the 7th of 22. If there are no further questions. Bob, you have any questions? I'm assuming not. Go ahead, then, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, and that motion has passed. Approval of the caustic tank repair. And Nora, do you want to address this? Danielle, how would you like to handle this?
I'll hand it over to Nora and take a break when you guys listen in. to me.
Thanks, Nora. Go ahead then.
All right, so my motion is to approve the repair for the 2,000 gallon caustic tank at the water treatment plant with a quote for $8,300 from Edward Fiberglass. I quoted this job out to 6 different places. It is a difficult job because our plant was built around these tanks. So it's not something that I can just replace the whole tank. They will have to come in. I gave pictures to you guys so you can see the hairline cracks all the way across the bottom. It's not something we can do safely ourselves. This company is the original manufacturer of that tank we have downstairs. They came in with the best price as well. They are actually out of Missouri. I'm not sure on their time frame. At this time, this sounds horrible. It's not leaking real bad because it's all crusted up, so it's not seeping through, but we have a mess.
Crusted up, yeah.
It's a mess. So, and this has probably been happening for at least 3 years or so. They said that this crack is, so they'll have to go in. Our job at the plant will be to clean it out, dry it, and have it prepared for them to go in. They will do 6 inches up the side all the way around. So it won't just be that area. They will pretty much do the whole bottom and a foot up all the way around. So. And this is about normal. They said a fiberglass tank usually about 20 years. We're on 21, almost 22. So.
Anyone have any questions?
I just would like to add too that this was budgeted through the capital projects this year. I don't, did you say that? I'm sorry.
I did not.
Okay. Oh, we had budgeted 20,000. And then is this the one there's gonna be a little bit? Or that's the other one. We have so much going on, Nora. Is this where we have to get somebody to come do it, or they are doing it?
They're gonna do it. We fixed,
Okay.
so we had another, our day tank, so the smaller one that you guys see when you come through the plant, that one had some leaks. Jeff, my maintenance / water operator, he fiberglassed those. We had 3 spots on that tank that he was able to do himself. This is probably 10 feet taller, so I'm not comfortable with the safety of having Jeff take care of the situation. So we're gonna contract this one out to the original manufacturer.
Thanks for clarifying, but it is under budget, so I just wanted to be clear on that.
And I'm sorry, we quoted the initial 20,000 because we were gonna add tanks as well. But with the loss of the ethanol plant and how long the plant's running, we don't need that excess space any longer. So that's why it's kind of over budgeted, because we were gonna add some tanks at that time, but that's not necessary right now.
Make a motion to approve the repair to the 2,000 gallon caustic tank at the water treatment plant with a quote for $8,300 from Edwards Fiberglass Incorporated.
Support.
We have a motion by Tim and seconded by James to move to approve the repair to the 2,000 gallon caustic tank at the water treatment plant with a quote of $8,300 from Edwards Fiberglass Incorporated. There are no further questions.
Nora, are they coming out of Missouri to do the work?
Yes, they are.
Are we having to house them when they come up here?
No, that's part of it.
That's part of the.
Yeah, that's part of the quote.
Is there anything else we can get done with while they're here?
Anything else we can have? I don't know if Brent or anybody has anything that I don't. All of my other fiberglass tanks are in good condition, and like I said, we fixed the one. I don't believe Brent has any fiberglass holding tanks. I can ask them and check, but at this time, that's
We're
mainly.
paying for travel and for them to stay. We might be able to get a little bit more done, especially if we got 20,000 budgeted. We're coming in fairly.
Is that
Budget.
their focus, only those tanks, those type of tanks?
Fiberglass, yes,
That's
that's what they do.
It's a
Yeah.
specialty, so.
We have a first and a second on that, so I think we're ready to vote then, Lisa. Barb? Yes. Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Gwen? Yes, and that motion has passed. And then Danielle, looking for that 1 month water shut-off suspension. I think you can read it, but if you would explain it as well.
Yes, so I am asking council to delay or cancel, whatever we want to call it, shut-offs for the month of December. So what we typically do is bills are due on the 25th, which unless it's a holiday, then it's the next working day. So the 25th is a holiday, which our next working day is Tuesday, because we're off on that Monday because of Christmas. So they would have to pay by the end of the day Tuesday. Then that leaves us to get shut-offs done on Wednesday and Thursday. And that also gives our residents Wednesday and Thursday to get paid to get water back on. What I don't want to do to our residents during the holidays especially is that we go into a long weekend. So because of New Year's Eve, we have Friday and Monday off, so a 4-day weekend. So if they don't get it paid by that Wednesday or Thursday, then they go into a 4-day weekend and won't be able to make a payment until the next Tuesday. And I don't think that that's good for our residents to have to go that long, especially if they're elderly or have children. This isn't something I would normally want to do. I don't want to make this a normal thing where we delay shut-offs, but because of that long weekend and the way the holidays fall this year, I am asking that we just delay it 1 month. So if they don't pay their bill, they would still be charged the penalty. We're not waiving any fees. It just delays. They still have to pay their bill because if they don't, they're gonna get shut off in January. It just gives them that little bit of extra time because of the holidays. It's also a huge benefit because for our employees, because we're already short-staffed with people taking off for the holidays, and then they have to try to cram these shut-offs in really quickly so that people know they're being turned off. So again, I know it's not the most ideal thing, but just logistically, I think would be better for everybody.
I'll make a motion to suspend water shutoffs for 1 month in December 2021. Support.
We get a motion by Tim and seconded by James to move to suspend the water shutoffs for 1 month in December of 2021. Anyone for further discussion? Seeing none, Lisa, please.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, that motion has passed. On to item number 12, the award, the engineering services. Danielle, again, if you would discuss that.
Yes, so we did put out a request for proposals for engineering services as a just as needed basis. We're not doing anything outside of our budget. It would be things we have budgeted for. But one of the things we talked about in the budget process, and I've mentioned to you guys before, is that I would really like to be able to build a relationship with an engineer where they become kind of trusted advisors, somebody that we can call up and say, hey, what do you think about this? Somebody that knows what our expectations are and vice versa, knows our system. It's of course not something that's going to happen overnight, and I think it's something that should be reviewed. We don't just give it to this person and then never take a look at it again. But I think that relationship is really important. Nora has a few projects that she could use some engineering services, and instead of having to balance and work with multiple, we could just have one point of contact, which would be beneficial. The same thing is true for the wastewater plant, streets projects, things like that. So we did receive five total proposals. They were all really good. We formed a committee of myself, Nora, Brent, and Randy to review all of them. We rated all of the firms based on the information they gave us. I called 3 references for each of the 5 to see what they had to say about the engineering firms. We are recommending Manic Smith. They have actually done quite a few projects with the village of Blissfield dating all the way back to 1982. They used to be Jones and Henry, or had partnered with Jones and Henry and kind of merged into one firm. Their fees were in most areas lower. A couple, they were pretty equal. Honestly, we had probably top 3. I think Manic Smith, IMG, and Spicer were, we could really go either way with these. So we looked at total ratings, which I provided, and based off of kind of our gut instinct, what they provided, we're recommending them. I'd be happy with any of those firms that submitted, but I think this is just a really good step moving forward, again, for us to kind of build that relationship and have those trusted advisors. If you guys have questions, I will answer them. Nora's here too, so if you have questions and want to pick her brains and she helped review, I'm sure she'd offer that up too.
Can I add something real quick? The Manic Smith, the list of services they had available to us was vast, even like DBA services. They had probably 2/3 more than the other companies on services they could give us just across the whole village. So
yeah, just a huge, I think, wealth of knowledge and a team that, our main contact person would be Todd Brown out of Toledo, but maybe it's not his expertise, but somebody in the company he can work with and defer and have that relationship. But they did have a ton of services. I liked that they had some previous knowledge of our infrastructure and different things within the community, so they're familiar with us. They're not that far. They've got an office in Toledo. They've got an office in Adrian. And then I think Monroe would be the next closest one, but I think would be really helpful for us moving some projects forward and starting to get some of these maintenance things checked off. And We have quite a few requirements through Eagle, through our sanitary surveys that need to be completed that we have to have those engineers stamp and sign off on.
Is there a cost every time you call them?
So they do bill per hour. One of, actually every reference that I called, that was one of the top things that they said, because we're not the only community that has budget limitations. So I can tell you all their references said that that's one of the things they love, is that when you make a 5-10 minute phone call, they're not turning around and billing you. That you really, you get a lot more out of them than, they're not trying to document every single minute of their day, which I think would be extremely beneficial for us. They specialize in working with local government, so they know those challenges. Another huge component that I really liked about Manick and Smith is their grant abilities and their knowledge of the different departments within the state of Michigan, what grants are available out there. I'm a huge proponent for grants, if you've not all got that by now. So anytime that we can get that funding and assistance, and a lot of the infrastructure grants require that we have an engineer's estimate, an engineer's timeframe. And if they can help us with those things, we're going to be more successful in getting those. So to answer your question, technically, yes, they could bill us for that, but based off of all of their references, I didn't get the impression that they're out to just bill us for every single minute of their time. Part of the proposal too is that when they travel from their Toledo or Adrian offices, they don't even charge us mileage. Let's say they did have to send a engineer from Monroe or from one of their further offices, or Canton, I think is the other one, they will bill from Adrian office, which is the closest, rather than billing the full miles from Canton, which I thought was another benefit. Because it can get, of course, pricey when you're paying for mileage and different things. So, and that's something too, where I said, we shouldn't just award this and then never look at it again and just always work with them. Every probably I wouldn't say year, but maybe 2-3 years, we need to take a look at this and say, okay, how are services going? Are the fees, still where they need to be? Do we need to put some proposals out there again and keep it competitive and keep Manick Smith or whoever we award to honest, but still get that benefit of building the relationship?
The last, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My last question was, Pogemeyer, was they just specifically for the aquatic center, or have they been for the whole village?
They weren't for the aquatic center at all, but that would, I guess that would lead into my comments, is Pogemeyer, I guess, just regarding probably the last 10 years that I've been on council, has worked to develop that relationship, I think, with the village. I guess if there's a concern that some of either their staff or council have with Pogemeyer, we can relook at it. I guess my question is really why, because do we go back to RFQs for design services as well as contractor services? We may say, okay, we've got a big infrastructure project coming up, so we are still gonna seek RFQs for the design services as well as the contractors. So really, unless we're paying some sort of retainer fee or whatever, or in the future, say we become a little more successful and we're doing industrial buildings or commercial sites where we need this, since we don't have an in-house engineer, would we utilize these people as sort of a retaining services to where we always go to them? I'm not sure we really need to say, okay, we're going to stick with this specific company, because if that's what we want to do, we've done that with Pogemeyer in the past. They gave us quite a deal. I think it started potentially at the village office project. I don't know, it's been a while, but at the beginning of working with Pogemeyer, they were kind of building their reputation, their company, and they got their foot in the door with the village. If the village, quote, isn't happy with their services, that's fine, but they do know a lot of our system currently, and we do kind of have that working relationship with Pogemeyer. Again, I guess it's just my question, if we're not paying retainer services, if we don't really need them as a retaining in-house engineer, why do we need to stick with one from,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure it's needed.
I guess a few follow-ups to that comment. So one, we could still, for larger projects, if we wanted to, go out to bid. The benefit to having this is building that for the smaller things. So every time right now, if Nora wants something, either we go to Pogemeyer, the one, or we try to reach out to other entities, like she needs a new schematic for the plant. So now we have to go build this relationship to get that schematic built, which is gonna, in the long run, cost us more money. If we had an engineer that knew our water plant, they could kick that schematic drawing out in a couple hours. I mean, it's not anything super complicated. So where this is the huge benefit is those smaller things. That doesn't stop us from being able to go out and solicit other engineers if we want to do larger projects or different things. Pogemeyer did submit a proposal, which is kind of my second part to what you said, and they were rated. I've, again, not been here super long. I can say from when I first started in July to now, I have seen an improvement in Pogemeyer as far as their communication and support, which I am incredibly grateful for. But I do think that some of the challenges that we face with Pogemeyer is they have engineers on staff that aren't licensed engineers in the state of Michigan. They are a primarily Ohio company, which is great. Ohio's our neighbor, but where we fall short is they don't have the same contacts with Ohio DEQ as they do Michigan Eagle or DEQ, whatever you want to call them. So we fall short on our grants. We fall short on the expectations, which do differ from state to state a little bit. There's been numerous times where the statement has been made, well, in Ohio, it's like this. Well, that's great, but our permitting's through Michigan and through our Eagle. So we need to make sure we're meeting their standards and requirement. And I think that would be my biggest concern with Pogemeyer, and not to bash them or say bad things about them. It's just, I think we need somebody that's going to have those contacts and be more knowledgeable with Michigan rules and regulations that can help us out with that a little bit more. I don't know, do you?
No, I agree. The general plan she mentioned, the hydraulic general plan, was done by Pogemeyer in, Kip and Jim would have done it, so it's probably about 2014. And Eagle's requesting that it's redone because it's not the way Eagle wants or what they expect to see out of a general plan. So like she said, there's just that connection that the other engineers have with Eagle and understands what their requirements are for each project. So
Manic is registered in Michigan then?
They are, yes. And to be fair, Pogemeyer has engineers licensed in Michigan, but not to the extent. And when their proposal, there were numerous that were not. And like we firsthand have dealt with the kind of disconnect between state to state. And that, again, they probably do a great job in Ohio, but for what we need, it's just a little bit different.
That was something that when Darwin was here, he had alluded to as well, is that it wasn't, it was the state issue, was one of the big things because of the Ohio knowledge versus the Michigan knowledge as well. Mike, any questions? No.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and I see it having a quote in, since we don't have an in-house engineer, if we did have, that consistent services that knew our system, obviously, or absolutely, yeah, that makes sense to me. But I just see it as something more down the line that we would probably build a better connection with, or need that connection with, hopefully with, as we grow. If we're not paying a retainer fee by anyone, I'm fine with that too, so that's fine.
Mark, did you have something?
Is there anything that we're starting to work on with them right away?
We have, if this is awarded, Nora has several things. And then we will be working with them on probably some different infrastructure projects. Brent, in our capital improvement plan, we've got the copper service lines. We've got some infrastructure monies that we would like to start being able to get designed and working on that, seek some different grant funding. So yes, long way of saying yes, we would work with them on some things right away.
We would start right away.
Yes.
We've got American Rescue Plan money coming in that needs to be allocated. So we've got projects we need to get moving on.
Yeah, and on top of the projects, I think bigger things is those standard things we have to do asset management every year and submit that to Eagle for the wastewater treatment plant. We get our sanitary survey that is every 3 years. And every time they do that, they find numerous things that we have to now comply with. And I would say 9 out of 10 times it requires an engineer.
Bob, do you have anything?
No,
Manic, I guess, would be familiar with the RRC sort of projects too, right down the line.
They are, yes. They had just a ton of stuff. So like Nora said, they had economic development things, community development, RRC. Brownfield was another thing they had experience in. If you look at their proposal, it's actually, it's a couple points I'm like, this is a little bit overwhelming because they just have so much ability and.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Make a motion to award as needed engineering services to Manic Smith Group and authorize the village administrator to execute contract documents on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
I have ladies first on that one. Okay, we have a motion by Tim and seconded then by Barb to go with the recommended motion to award as needed the engineering service to Manic Smith Group and authorize the village administrator to execute contract documents on behalf of the governing body. Go ahead, Lisa.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, that motion has passed. Number 13, Danielle, lots of talking tonight, my friend.
Yeah, I actually might have to pass this one to the chief, but I'll try to take a stab at it.
So this is the renewal of the Southern Michigan Criminal Justice Training Consortium.
Yes, a mouthful.
Yes.
So the contract is actually the same. We're just proposing to renew it. This is a huge benefit to our police department. It's an opportunity for them to get training with different entities. We do pay, the fee is 50% of our Public Act 302 monies that we get. So again, training is expensive, it's timely, but it is so important. So we're just proposing that we renew that contract. Again, I defer to Chief for any specifics that you have.
Anyone have any questions in particular? Bob, any questions?
no,
Okay, seeing none, then I'm looking for a recommendation.
I move to approve the Southern Michigan Criminal Justice Training Consortium contract as presented and authorize the chief of police to execute the contract on behalf of the governing body for a term from January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2024.
Support.
A motion by Barb and seconded by Tim to approve the Southern Michigan Criminal Justice Training Consortium contract as presented and authorize the chief of police to execute the contract on behalf of the governing body for a term from January 1, 22 to December 31, 24. Go ahead, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. And that motion has passed. Approval of the Weir Gate. And Nora, this has to do with you, the Weir Gate, is that correct? Okay.
So if you remember back to March, when we had our boil warning, this is the gate that has the pitting at the bottom. So at this point, this is just for the purchase of the gate itself, not for the installation. That's where I'm going to get the prices and bids to hopefully reduce this project. This is the original gate company. I have, I sent some pictures for you guys of what that gate looks like. It's not like a typical, it's an up down on a big scroll that we have to use. You saw the big wheels. I was able to, they have a job description on each one. So I sent them 4 numbers and they quoted me the exact gate that I have in place. They are called Golden Harvest. All 6 of our gates are the same manufacturer, so I don't want to really deviate from that. So that we don't have pieces and parts of every different one. We can hold spares, and it's gonna work for all of our gates. At the same time, I have talked to multiple contractors to do that installation, but right now it is about, let me remind myself, about 16 weeks before we can even get this gate. So that's why I wanted at least to get the purchase and the prints and everything of this gate done. And then once we get this approved, I will work on those other quotes for the installation.
Move to approve the purchase of a 36 by 54 inch rear gate provided by Golden Harvest Incorporated at the price of $9,150.
Support. We have a motion by Tim and seconded by Barb to approve the purchase of 36 by 54 inch rear gate provided by the Golden Harvest Incorporated. At the price of $9,150. If there are no further questions, go ahead, Lisa, please. Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen? Yes. And that motion is passed. And looking for the approval of a lease for storage at Blissfield Manufacturing. Danielle, please.
Council, this is the simple lease agreement for Blissfield Manufacturing to store the materials and equipment at Blissfield Manufacturing for our wastewater treatment plant upgrades. As we discussed at the last meeting in more length than I'd like to do again, but Will, if you have questions. We are going into winter. The contractor is back on site. One of the things that we had faced is them having to haul all this material back to their property, which is 90 miles one way. And then they'd have to at some point bring it back. I did say that we would pay for the storage here. It does stink. It's not my favorite situation. However, to keep the project moving, I do think it's beneficial for us. We have the materials here, so there's no delay in us moving forward. We don't run the risk of those parts going bad in the winter weather, not being able to be used, and then having to order and have delay issues all over again. So the lease is being presented to you guys. If it's approved today, tonight, I'll get it signed back to Pat. And then I do just want to thank him too for working with us on the cost of the storage and things like that. And then let you guys know too that as we move forward, staff will make sure that as parts go out and we can reduce this, we'll do so. Pat has been great to work with so far, and try to keep those costs minimal. And as soon as we can get that out of storage, we'll get it down to our plant and stop paying that fee. So if you have questions, let me know.
Mike, any questions? Barb, Tim,
No.
and James.
And we're expecting this to go through the winter, meaning March, April.
Correct, yes,
We're looking at between $4,500 to $6,000.
correct.
I was looking for the time frame as well.
Yes.
Okay, and Randy is gonna have access to this.
Our engineers as well. We have tracked everything that is stored there, that every time it moves there and every time it moves back. So yes,
And who's gonna do the moving? I'm assuming.
the contractor is doing
Oh,
that.
their contractors.
Yes.
Do the moving.
Yeah, but again, it has to go through Randy, and the engineer have to be checking all of that to make sure they know what's going over there. Because that is, a lot of that materials, things we've already paid for to keep this job going, and materials that'll be used, so. Yes.
If there are no further questions, if someone would like to make a motion, please.
Make a motion, we approve the lease as presented and authorize the village administrator to execute on behalf of the governing body.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Bart and a second by Mike to approve the lease as presented and authorize the village administrator to execute on behalf of the governing body. Go ahead, Lisa, please.
James,
No.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb, Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. That motion is passed. Approval of a VFD repair. Nora, is this your story too?
Yep.
Okay.
Make sure you don't want to take this one. So, end of October, beginning of November, we had a complete blackout at the water plant. All three of my buildings, were shut down for roughly 6 hours. There was smoke rolling out of the small building in the middle. So I right away called Utilities Instrumentation, who does all of our programming and electrical work at the plant. They had somebody out right away. They are out of Ann Arbor, Ipsy area. They weren't sure what happened, but when that power blackout, it took one of our VFDs with us. Yes, this is our third one we have to repair this year. So while they were there, I requested that they look into and meg my pumps, as well as the power coming into that master control panel. So they did that and they found that the master control panel was losing a little bit of the, I guess it's gonna like insulate the power coming in. So they added a little bit of rubber to it, but at the same time, they've installed a recorder so that we could see what was happening with that power. I have since got a report from them. I'm not an electrician by any means. So when I got the report, I asked them what kind of volts we should be seeing. And so there's 3 legs, it's a 3-phase coming into our plant. And those are all right where they should be. What they are concerned with is our harmonic distortion. So as they explain it to me, there should be a curve on how the power comes in. And if it deviates from this curve, that's going to be your distortion of your power. When they came to pick it up, it was December 3rd, they noticed anomalies already. So they changed the recorder to a different position on the feeds coming in. So I don't have all of the data at this point, but at this point, that's what they're concerned with, is that the deviation from what that energy should look like. Our first phase is deviating about 12%, and I don't know what the ideal percentage is. Our second one's around 7%, and our third one's around 6%. So from our third phase to our first phase, we're doubling it. So to me, just looking at it, that's a huge difference. Once they'll be picking up the recorder for the second time this Friday, and I'll get another report that I can get to Danielle and she can give you guys. But this is a piece of infrastructure that we have to have. If I don't have the VFD, the water doesn't leave the water plant to go to the community. So we are recommending, and I asked the engineers as well, to quote me a new one and ask them what the recommendation was. They said building a VFD, rebuilding one is typically what everybody does unless they're a new installation. So that's where I'd want to go, and I don't want to spend the money on a new one right now, not having the full answers on what's going on. My operator Jeff looked at it a little bit more knowledge electrically wise than I have, and he's wondering maybe our bus on our master control panel is shorting, or possibly that huge cable that comes in on our first leg has a short in a line. That's where he's leaning right now. But until we get this next report, so there is probably going to be some additional work if they find something on this master control panel that comes into the plant. So the lead time on this equipment is 8 weeks. So right now we have no backup. The one that our second one we purchased is in place, and that's what brought us right back up after that 6 hours, was that we had that backup. Right now we don't have a backup. So if something was to happen, I am down to 1 pump.
So just to piggyback a little bit, Nora did explain that wonderfully, but I guess I just want to reiterate that this is super vital. The brand new one is $17,000, and we're asking to rebuild it for, I think it was $999.35, which is still a good amount of money. We do need to get to the root cause of this to stop these VFDs from happening. And I think with this recorder, we'll make good progress on that. And when we get this other report with the extra information, we can reach out to some electricians. She did share the report with me, and I'm not gonna lie, I looked at it and I was like, right over my head. I do not understand any part of that report. So I do think we need to bring an electrician in, but it's super common to rebuild VFDs. It's really the kind of industry standard. So I do agree that that's our best route at this time, and then really get to the root of this so we don't continue having these issues, because we have to have those VFDs.
And none of this was in the budget because it would not have been in the budget.
It is not, no. We are proposing within the budget to cover it. So what'll happen is when I do our first quarter, I'm gonna try to do a quarterly budget amendment. It'll be in there to move it. So it'll be within what our total budget is, and then we'll move from one line to another to cover it. But you are correct, it is not a budgeted item.
But it would make sense to try to determine where's it coming from, sure.
Have you talked with Consumers Energy?
We have not, I have talked to that, well, in the past I have, because we were getting low dips in voltage coming in, which what that will do is it'll shut my VFDs off, but I'm able to reboot them. It pretty much, by the time the voltage goes down and comes back up, it's already turned itself off. They told me to record that, and of course, since I started recording it, there's only been one time that's happened since. But they said this is not, a VFD should protect itself from anything like that. So they're thinking something bigger, maybe with our control panel, the bus and that master control panel, because that is original to the building project. And that's kind of what they were looking at. We tried a switch the same day. It was a major, thank God we had the tower and everything full. It was a major shutdown. We ended up running 3 shifts that night to make up, and it took us about 2 days to make up what we lost in that 6 hours, so.
Is there a way for consumers to mag outside the building? Maybe
They megged, UIS did, they megged our Cutler hammer that comes in from consumers, and that all megged exactly where it needs to be. They also checked my generator, because right around there, we had a couple power outages in town. So they were wondering if maybe we were getting something a little stronger coming off the generator. That all megged like it should have as well.
What does megging mean?
I put the definition.
I saw it in there. Megging the master electrical.
Yeah, the master electric, yep. So down a little lower, I put the definition because
It was not making like it should. A megger is an electrical instrument that is used for testing insulation resistance to safeguard all electrical equipment from major damage. Okay.
so it was, yeah, I ended up having 4 different electricians out there that day.
Okay.
It was a major ordeal, but
Did our generator operate correctly? You saying the whole plant was down?
no, because it blew a breaker completely. So it wasn't telling the generator turned on. But the problem was we still had consumers. So it wasn't letting the generator feed in to the plant because we had consumers. So consumers, something happened on consumers end that came in that blew that switch,
Okay.
which blew our VFD.
So we may have lost like 1 phase or 2
Something, yeah.
phases of consumer.
And that's what they were thinking they might find in the recorder for the last 30+ days, but
All right, yeah, we need an electrician out there because 3 VFDs in 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just throwing money away. We need to figure out.
And
what's
that's
going
what
on,
I told them
whether
when
it's
they were there.
consumers' Power issue or our issue.
when they were there, I told them, I said, do you have any, and they were like, oh yeah, we need to figure this out for you, like, this is not a normal thing, so.
Yeah, VFDs are made to run constantly and hard, and they're made to be on, off again. I mean, that's just the nature of a VFD, so.
Well, even running at low power is not gonna be good for you either.
No,
so,
exactly.
which we know is happening.
No.
So something's not right, obviously.
How long was that last one that blew in operation?
It's been in operation. So we redid, I have 2 pumps. So the first two we redid was pump one. This last one was actually VFD number one that blew. So we had two and then one blew. So, this one was probably the longest running VFD, because the other one we had, that were the first two redos that we did this year. And that's what was different was, it seems to be the whole panel, it's not just that one VFD that we thought maybe it was a feed to just that section, but now it seems like it might be the whole master control panel.
So you're gonna have consumers do what they can to help us.
I have utility instrumentation. They're the ones that are doing all the recording and all the data collection and, once they give me something that I understand more than these graphs, they also said they would help me talk to consumers. And so I do have an engineer too. We use Saunders, Electric a lot here, so I can have Trent look at it as well. And he can tell me what he's seeing, because he's also worked on those also, so.
Well, we have a recommended motion. Did you want to say something, Danielle? No. Okay. We have a recommended motion to waive the competitive bidding requirements and to accept the quote from UIS SCADA, to rebuild the 60 HP Allen Bradley VFD at the water treatment plant in the amount of $9,935.
I make a motion to waive the competitive bidding requirements and to accept the quote from UIS SCADA to rebuild the 60 horsepower Allen Bradley VFD at the water treatment plant in the amount of $9,935.
Second.
We have a motion by Barb and seconded by Tim for the recommended motion as stated. Go ahead, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. And that motion was passed. And number 17 on our agenda, award permanent legal services contract. Danielle, you have to go ahead and address that.
Yeah, so I didn't put a whole lot on this agenda item because the attorney does work directly for council, and this is really how you guys choose to move forward. At the last meeting, I had the drafted proposal for you guys, which you approved to solicit, where they could do either the prosecution, the civil, or both, and that is how I put it out to bid. We received the three. It is completely up to you guys how you want to award or address this. Of course, you always have the ability to rebid. Of course, that's going to have impacts to the proposals that you've received, things like that, but it is truly up to council.
Comment that I would like to make is the following, that Danielle did reach out to Bob, Mike, and myself on Wednesday, and I know that I did not respond to you in a timely fashion, and I apologize on that. Hence that time I've talked with Danielle, and what I would like us to do is for Mike, Bob, and I to get together and discuss the three folks, the attorneys that would like to come on board, and then have that dialogue, and then bring something to you ideally on our next meeting in January. I think it's important that we don't go by the paperwork alone, but I do think we need to have the discussion, and that we need to actually talk with the attorneys to see where we go from here. That's just my opinion. So in other words, I'm kind of suggesting that perhaps we table this until that January meeting. James, anything that you'd like to say about that?
No, that's fine with me.
Tim?
That's fine.
Or
I think that's a good idea too. I think someone should talk to the ones that we don't know.
okay.
GM Marco, whoever that is.
One question would be, does anybody know them?
Yeah.
They submitted a proposal at our request.
Correct. So the proposals did go out on Mitten, as well as our website, and I'm guessing when you do the Mitten bid system, it sends it. I clicked legal services, so it actually sends out notifications to anybody that's registered under that category.
So will the three of you contact them, or is Daniel going to be the point person?
I think what we'll probably do, Mike is kind of what we've done in the past. And yes, basically Danielle would go ahead and she'll ask us when we're available.
Okay.
And I would think that we perhaps, depending on what's going on, with Bob's situation for it, we've zoomed things before. So I think that would be appropriate. We'll kind of go from there, but again, have that idea set up for the January meeting to come back and have something in the, for our 22 year.
Yeah, and I will help however I can. The only comment that I would like to make is, just to make it cleaner and because of how Robert's rules are and all of that, instead of tabling, if you guys could make the motion to postpone.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you table, you have to take it off the table and it just
Oh,
gets
okay.
super weird, so.
Or we just don't have the,
I think you need to act on it though, because it's new business, so if you don't act, then it's not gonna come back up on the next agenda. And if you want it on the next agenda on the 10th, you postpone.
So we could ask for a motion to postpone
Because
until
not acting is a failure, so then.
So we're looking
Sorry,
for a motion to postpone the
I would say a
I'll make a
word.
motion to postpone the awarding of legal services until our next meeting, January 10th, 2022.
Support.
We have a motion and a support by Tim to get on that, Lisa? Okay. You want to read that for us then, if you would, please?
Motion to postpone awarding legal services until the next meeting, January 10th, 2022.
Are there any further questions?
Our current ones will just continue until that time.
Correct, yes.
All right, that's it.
Bob, do you have anything in particular?
No, I don't, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no questions, I'll go ahead then, Lisa.
Mike,
yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes. Motion is passed. Reports, administrator.
I do have one thing I wanted to let you guys know that's not in my report. This morning, I did have a meeting with Eagle, which was, I don't know what word I want to use. Interesting.
That was where I was thinking.
So I did talk to them about getting an extension on our wastewater treatment plant project. I do have that drafted formal request doing so and was asked to hold off on officially submitting that until this meeting. They did inform me today that if I were to submit that it would be denied because they feel like it is too premature or early. So my understanding, and I didn't ask for details, I didn't feel like rehashing the past was going to be super beneficial, but they had stated that on 2 occasions in the past, the village had applied for extensions related to something within the ACO. And before those extensions were even approved, they were requesting second extensions, and they don't want to see that happening again. They want to make sure that we're not just requesting extensions on top of extensions. So when I had first communicated with them back in August, they had said, let's talk about this in March, April. I asked them today, can we still kind of shoot for that March, April timeframe again? Because what I don't want to happen is we get right up to our deadline. And then we're trying to look at all of our different avenues and what we can do. They were good with that. So again, we'll feel them out, and I have a reminder set the end of March. In the meantime, I will continue communicating with them, which I do think has been beneficial, and they did appreciate that. The other thing that we talked about on our phone call was our penalties and where we stand with that, because I have been working on that for several months, and I'm starting to think they didn't want to put it in writing, but maybe not. So they did let me know that the village has paid $5,000 in penalties. That's been paid, that's not outstanding, and we currently have a liability or I don't know what we want to call it, obligation of $123,500 in penalties. Those penalties have not been levied by Eagle at this point. So what that means is they've not sent us an invoice. They've not said, okay, you've got to pay these. I did ask them what the chances of us not having to pay those were. The response I got was, we can at any time levy those penalties. They didn't say this. The impression that I got is they really want to see this project completed. So I'm thinking that that's going to be a conversation we have after the upgrades are completed, to see really where we stand, because that's, again, my opinion that that's kind of their leverage right now to make sure we do what we need to. That is a terrifying number, so hopefully we can get that to go away or at least reduced or something. But I am on the kind of positive side of that somewhat depressing update. I am super happy that we're building relationships with them and communicating. We do have a new, they've got a new employee, Kaylee, who will be our representative, and then we'll continue working with Tiffany Myers, who has been really helpful for me since I've started. But Dave Pegel was on that call too, who's kind of the area enforcement supervisor. But we will over communicate. We do have a progress meeting at the treatment plant tomorrow where I will let the engineers and the contractor know where we're at. And I really think that moving forward, we need to do as much as we can. It seems pretty clear we're not going to make our deadline, but let's make sure we're getting as close to that as we can and we're not, just pushing it out there. So I think that will be my message tomorrow, is we've got to have all hands on deck if we need to get more labor in or whatever the contractor needs to do to get this project done. It will be extremely important, so.
Good for you.
Yes,
And you're building it, no, you seriously are building that bridge, that rapport, and that is absolutely crucial, critical, whatever words you want to use there. Well done, Danielle.
thank you. And I will definitely keep you guys posted as this progresses and try to provide some updates, and we'll get through this. So it'll hopefully be in our rearview mirror soon.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, anything in particular that you share with us, Brandon?
Yeah, other than the audit started Thursday last week, basically. We were under the impression that they were gonna come on Saturday. So I guess we're doing an audit remotely. Again, so and we're gonna have a Zoom meeting tomorrow that should go.
Thank you for the update. And police department. Public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment at this particular time?
Question, Laura, if I could real quick, just regarding the sludge building, I thought I read, maybe it was in your update or something, that is the centrifuge not working? Are we sending sludge to the wastewater treatment plant again?
Yes, it has been. We've been working on that hydraulic system. And if you know anything about hydraulics, when you fix this part, you find your weak part over here. So we've made it through that. And I just picked up the hydraulic motor today from Fluid Concepts in Toledo. So tomorrow we're gonna line that all back up, get the belts. Hopefully by the end of this week, beginning of next week, we can have that back up and running. So that's my goal.
I mean, I'm not, I'm definitely not an operator or an engineer, but we were thinking that sending a lot of that, whatever the inner dirt or whatever sludge was causing contaminator problems down at the wastewater plant. I don't want to be paying for, the sludge issues in those tanks again. So the sooner that's up and operating, the better.
Yeah, the sludge building is that's another discussion we can have. But it probably leads more to Randy's wasting issues, having to waste more is because of your solids.
Right.
So that's where he sees the concern with my plan. So.
Thanks.
And then really quick, I know it's on the agenda, but I just want to make sure that the public knows we do not have a council meeting on the 27th due to the holiday. So again, they don't want somebody to show up thinking we'd be here.
What about our committee of the whole?
I don't have anything unless you guys have something, but I was thinking we all deserved a break.
Hey, Gwen. Hey, Gwen. Yeah, I was just saying, Todd Todd Brown's on. He's the engineering firm. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. Go ahead, Todd.
I appreciate it. And I'm sorry, I won't take much time. I just wanted to say thank you guys very much. Thank you all very much for moving forward with this proposal. And we look very much forward to working with you guys. I still live just outside, 20 minutes from Blissfield. My wife grew up in Blissfield. Her parents are still in town. This is something that's very much what we do. We are a firm who we completely engage in community, and we want to be the trusted advisor and work with people, work not just have clients. And I also wanted to say kudos to the group here for selecting and bringing Danielle on board. She is one of the best managers that I have ever worked with, not even worked with her yet, but sitting through this meeting and listening to you folks converse and go through it is amazing. The way you go through a meeting it's amazing. I worked with the city of Adrian for 20 years, worked for the city of Adrian for 20 years. And now, I'm going out and diversifying and seeing all of these different communities going through struggles and fighting amongst themselves. You guys this is one of the best meetings I have ever sat through. So I very much look forward to working with you and for you, on all the projects. The VFDs, we can come in and look very, we can figure things out pretty quickly. And we are a phone call away, and we do not charge for simple things. And I'm right. The nice thing is I'm right down the road. And if I'm not right down the road, the next guy is. So very much look forward to working with all of you and getting to know you and letting you all know what we actually do. We're not just a civil engineering firm out there to make a buck. We want to be involved with you and be in the community. So thank you again, appreciate it, and look forward to a good future.
Well, thank you for speaking up. We apologize. It's difficult for us to always see the TV, so thank you for that, Bob, letting us know that you were on board. Thank you. We'll keep Danielle, by the way. We agree with you. We concur.
Well, if you don't, we're taking her. So
that's fun. Nice work, Danielle. That's cool to hear. Isn't that nice?
It is nice, yes.
I know it's not easy to always hear it because you're a shy little person, but take it while you can. Take it while you can. It's very nice. If there's nothing else from anybody else on the council, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
You beat you on that one, Barb. We have that motion by James, supported by Tim, to adjourn the meeting. Lisa, when you're ready, please.
Barb? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes. And meeting's adjourned. Everybody have a wonderful holiday season. We'll catch you in 2022.